I'd like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. If you have a personal appeal, please approach the podium and sign in. You have 5 minutes for your appeal. All right. Does anybody have a community minute to bring forward? Hearing none, we have no special presentations. Reading of the minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion to recommend the council meeting minutes of November 6, 2017? Councilman Schutza, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions or corrections or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes for the record. Councilman Brown has not arrived yet. There are no decisions on bids. We have, I think, 6 communications here. We received a request from Don Nickerson requesting reappointment as an alternate to the Zoning Hearing Board. His term expires January 1st, 2018, so we'll address it next year. Yanitza Taylor is requesting appointment to the Emmaus Public Library Board. We will send that to GA because that's not a term that's expiring. That's an open seat. Jean Nagel, Secretary, Emmaus Public Library Board of Trustees, requests reappointment of Nancy O'Keefe to the Library Board of Trustees. That will be addressed next year. Lisa Martin, President, Emmaus Public Library Board of Trustees, requests reappointment of Jean Nagel to the Library Board of Trustees. Joseph Dedo, Jr., President, Emmaus Veterans Committee, is requesting a fee waiver for Moser Pavilion on August 4th, 2018. Should we address that now? We have minutes on that. Is that all right if we do that?
Yeah, I think you can address it.
All right. If you go under your tab on that, you'll see that in 2015, it was waived by a vote of 5-0, and in 2016, it was waived by a vote of 7-0. So would somebody like to make a motion to request the pavilion fee for the Veterans Committee? Councilman Barrett, is there a second? Second by Councilman Andrews. Any questions or discussion on this? It looks like it's past practice for us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. And the last letter we received was from Reverend David Schlonecker of Bethel Bible Fellowship Church with regards to satellite casinos. He would like us to pass and I don't remember what the name of the bill is.
It's a resolution.
Yeah, he was asking for us to basically turn House Bill 271, making a motion or a request to ban satellite casinos. And I think we discussed this in GA.
The other thing is
there was no interest in doing
Well, he
it.
also sent an email out.
Yes.
He sent an email out, and you have it on your desks, withdrawing his request after he understood the bill. It would be very, very, very difficult for any satellite casino
So
to come in.
the way I understand it, if I'm incorrect, you can correct me, but no casino a satellite casino can be built within 25 miles of a current casino unless it's by that casino.
Unless it's by the sands.
And
That is correct.
likely not to happen because then they just take business away from themselves, probably.
Some municipalities, like I can tell you, Upper Saucon, even though all of the ones I represent are within the 25 zone. Upper Saucon said, we're going to pass it because we can always take it away, and who knows what'll happen. It's just, Catasauqua said, the heck with it, they'll never build it here. We're within the 25-mile zone. So it's your choice. I mean, the truth is that if you don't pass it by the end of this year, it's a very short resolution, one paragraph, I think, basically.
Oh, we have a
They give,
model.
I think the PSATs and the Borough Association both have a standard form. If you pass it, you're protected, but you can always withdraw it later on. If you don't pass it, you can't re-implement it later on.
So when I asked for feedback from you individually, you know, and those of us that spoke about it, it seemed like there's probably a split between you. But the 25-mile thing was kind of for most of you, was where the point of conversation was that I had with you. So it's up to you. Again, there's not much effort for me to put the resolution together. It's just whether or not you think it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, my comments were just that I didn't think that it was a natural fit for the borough. There wasn't somewhere that you said, oh, that would be a great place for a casino. And on top of that, the 25-mile radius.
Parking could
But-
be an issue.
But with that said, I mean, yeah, it was more just that it seemed unlikely, so spending effort on it didn't seem beneficial.
While it seems unlikely, I agree with that. What's the harm if we can always withdraw it? I mean, the state may need more revenue in 10 years. It might become 15 miles, and then it might become 5 miles, and then.
Mr. Liebenberg, you know what you could do is maybe you could take a vote of council tonight, and if there's a majority vote, to direct me to write a resolution. If there's not, then we'll just move
Well,
on.
somebody can make a motion if they would like to move forward with
Yeah.
this. I'm not interested in it, but if somebody likes to make a motion,
What I'd rather do is, we have a GA meeting coming up. Why don't we talk about it formally? That'll still give us enough time. That's our typical protocol anyhow.
Would you like me to send you the actual law on it? 'Cause
No, I mean, I did
We
read
have
it.
it.
There was a good, we
I mean,
also
I
have an
actually went
article
through
on
the
it.
statute, so I have it.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather maybe it come from a committee, which tends to help us.
Just remember, it must be done before December 31, and a copy must be sent to the gambling board.
Yeah, and I mean, we have 2 meetings in December.
Well, you got your budget and all
Yeah.
that stuff, yeah.
So,
It's only done by resolution, though, correct?
Just a resolution, no advertisement, no
We don't
nothing.
have time.
But you
Yeah.
can't, after that date, you can't redo it. And you're
Right.
right, could they change the law and say, well, you had your chance to block it, you didn't? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said one entity decided to do it, one said, we don't
Okay.
care. It ain't happening.
I just don't think it's an issue. I think it's a non-issue, actually, but,
yeah. Okay.
all right. So we will,
So are you sending that to GA?
we'll address it under GA, but it's still going to come down to if somebody wants to make a motion at next meeting, so.
Yeah, I'd rather just formalize our typical protocol. Is really, I mean, I'm always a
All
stickler
right,
for
we'll
that.
come up with a recommendation from GA and we'll go from there. That's it for communications, unless somebody else has something to bring
Yeah,
forward.
You have a couple on your desk.
With the library board?
No, you have an interesting one from the Emmaus Library.
Yeah.
See that? You read it?
Well, this was just on my desk when I came in tonight, so I didn't get to read it. Should I read it into the record?
Yeah.
All right.
Page 2.
Dear Mr. Pepe and members of the Borough Council, I am writing to you for approval to begin working with zoning for a freestanding electric sign display. As many of you know, our current sign is about 1 foot tall, very close to our building with very poor lighting. It is not visible to vehicular traffic, nor is it informational. The library has been working diligently to increase patron participation and awareness about our many services. An illuminated electronic sign would help direct people to us and provide timely information in a modern, functional way. Through the generous funding of one of our board members, we already have half the funds needed for this sign, and we will seek the necessary additional funding once assured of Emmaus Borough's approval. I have sent a copy of the application for permit to Jim Farnsworth for zoning possibilities. However, the Borough of Emmaus owns the library property, thus we need your approval to move forward with this project. If there are any questions or concerns, contact me immediately, and I will make adjustments as needed. I would think this is something that needs to go to committee for
Well,
discussion.
absolutely. So there's a twofold thing here. First of all, I think a committee needs to recommend the council as to whether or not they can move forward with the process. But secondly, just because you approve the process doesn't mean that the sign's approved, because it has to go through the zoning process, and we do have zoning rules out there about electronic signs. So,
Well, I'm gonna send this to the codes enforcement committee.
Well,
codes?
It's not a codes issue.
No.
I mean, the electronic sign is
Isn't
permitted, it just
zoning
can
and
only
codes the
rotate its
committee?
message every 90 seconds.
Right.
What's the name of the committee?
No, I would put that to GA because it's your building.
Right. You like that? You like that?
Jeff has a vested interest
You
in
always want
building
to punt, don't you?
I would put that to GA.
I'm an Eagle.
Wait, community relations, planning and development, maybe?
No, I don't think it falls in there.
All right, well, it's going to GA.
GADD.
Health sanitation, it's not a code issue then, I guess. All right. Well, there's several issues there. And along with placement of where we go.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it for communications?
So, yeah.
We have no borough engineers report, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, some very good news on the sewer issue with the city of Allentown. First of all, EPA has decided to try to approach this problem just by I&I work, which means that all of those very expensive projects that Allentown was undertaking have been basically put on hold. There are a lot of complexities to it. I was on the phone with EPA's lawyer last Monday, and then Shane had asked me to go to a meeting in his absence with we'll call them the signatories in the city. It was quite contentious, but everyone came to the same conclusion that it looks like this problem will be going away without expense to us, at least in the foreseeable future. And I wrote an extensive memo on both those things for you.
Now, when you say expense, let's not. What he means by that is the Allentown plan upgrade. He does
Right.
not mean the I&I process.
Right.
EPA
Right.
was very emphatic that the correction should be made through I&I.
We
You're
can-
still paying. You're still going to be spending just as much money.
But it will be on our infrastructure.
It'll be on the infrastructure. So
And when you say just as much money, not in Allentown's eyes, as they wanted us to spend much more money
but we have that amount of money in.
for the current
Yeah.
the current plan, but yes.
And if I remember correctly, it was broken down into 2 phases. So phase 1 is moving forward as expected, but it's phase 2?
Nope, phase 1 is not moving forward as expected,
Okay.
although they are going out and they're going for blending now. And they're borrowing it's in my report, $21.4 million or something like that.
Don't get too excited.
So they may be back sniffing around at
Yeah.
us.
Don't
but,
get too excited.
Salisbury went at them, it was a vicious meeting for that. But the city basically concurred with me, and since I had talked to the lawyer for EPA, I knew exactly where they were coming from. I think we're okay.
Thank you. Unfinished business part 1, we have ordinance 1165, ordinance 1166, and ordinance 1167, which will have second reading at our first meeting in December 4th. Under new business, we have ordinance number 1168, first reading. An ordinance of the Borough of Emmaus, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 15, subsection 602.2.a of the Emmaus Borough Code, removing a residential handicap parking sign on the public street located in front of 653 Furnace Street and 130 South 4th Street within the Borough of Emmaus. Is there a motion to recommend ordinance 1168? Councilman Anders, second by Councilwoman Gilbert. Any questions or discussion? It's a roll call vote. Councilman Schubsta?
Aye.
Councilman Anders?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilbert?
Aye.
Councilman Dufresne?
Aye.
Councilman Barrett?
Aye.
Councilman Ladenburg? Aye. There are 6 ayes. Unfinished business part 2, there is none. Items not on the agenda, anything to come forward? Hearing none. Mayor's report.
Nothing, Mr. President.
Thank you. On to committee reports. Public Works Committee Chairman Brown is not here. Would Anders or Dufresne like to fill in?
They haven't had anything.
Progress, next meeting is December 11th at 3
Nice
p.m.
work.
All right, good job.
Brown couldn't have done it that well.
Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee Chairman Schubsta.
Yeah,
Do you want to handle this
That
one
was
also?
That was good.
We have nothing for official action. However, Shane, tomorrow is my favorite day of the year, social media light up Facebook day, when we get garbage picked up. So where do we stand with our meeting with them?
It's exciting. They'll be here the first meeting in December. They confirmed it.
They did?
I thought they were coming tonight.
So here's what I'm gonna say to you. You asked for them, they're gonna be here. So be prepared, like, write down questions, have legitimate questions for them. Don't make it a whine and cry session, like, ask them legitimate things, voice legitimate concerns, give them legitimate examples. So that way, like, we're prepared to have a real conversation with these guys about their lack of service, their lack of performance, their lack of following the contract. Like, be prepared to have a real conversation, because what we don't want is the situation we had last time they were here together. So let's be organized and,
I thought I did all right.
I'm not saying you guys, I'm saying,
Shane,
uh,
are we currently fining them then for the inadequate service we've been receiving?
we have followed the contract to a T. And in accordance with what you guys agreed upon with them. And that's what I'll respond with.
Okay. Good, so they're coming.
Because we were
Awesome.
finding them, they came in and whined, and you guys made changes and gave them grace periods and everything else. So basically, if they go out and fix it the next day, you're not finding them. And that's what you agreed upon with them. So,
Okay.
Okay, so you just want you want to have notes ready for all
I just want you
of
guys
that.
to be prepared to
Chip?
be able to bring up,
Yeah,
you know, your examples that you've shared with me and the concerns that we have, and like, just be organized and be prepared for it, so that way you're not thrown off.
The more specific you can be, date, time, place, location, whatever, and the exact act will be very helpful.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll sit down with Jeff and Tom and talk about the contract
okay.
and any out clauses, et cetera. So that if that's what Borough Council wants to do, we're prepared and we know how to proceed with that. Okay?
All right, great.
How long are we locked in with them currently with this extension?
Well, so remember, you locked in for a year,
Locked in
January to
1 year.
December 31st. So you would have to tell them, now, if you were to get out of it at the end of next year, we have to tell them by July 1st. However, if you want to get out early, that's something that, again, we're going to
I
have to
look at that.
confirm.
So we're
with our
looking at their
solicitor.
service through next year or through the middle of next
Well,
year?
that's, I think that depends on your feeling and what the contract, like how the language would read. I'm not telling you one way or the other at this point, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't taken a good enough look at
Okay.
it yet. But I know that some of you would like to cancel that contract tomorrow.
Well, we can't do that, but we have to look at the contract.
I know, because we'd have a lot of garbage sitting around for a while. But we have to make sure that we have a proper out clause if you wanted to cancel
Okay.
earlier. Okay?
Can we also be provided with what documents the downstairs has been receiving? Maybe if
Sure.
I know there's a log that they keep.
Yeah, I mean, but what they have is no worse than your previous haulers. So it's really like, I really want to base this off of what you've observed, okay? What you've seen, what you've heard. Take your social media stuff that you guys have your eyes glued to all the time, print it out. All right, print it out. Bring it with you. That way you have addresses, issues, times, dates, all that good stuff. Like, I just be prepared. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right, we're gonna be organized, but you gotta be specific. You know, saying, I think that your guys aren't clean enough isn't, like, that's
No,
not.
no, I mean,
That's
it's-
not the conversation we need to have with them. What we need to have with them is, look, last week you were here till 9 o'clock.
Right.
The week before you were here till 6:30. The week before you were here till past 5. Your contract says this.
Correct.
Now, this has been going on since August. So, and we have week after week after week. I mean, I have email after email after email and phone call after phone call. So I can, like, I will have specifics as well, but you guys have them too. And you have people that have called you, you have people that have emailed you, you have people that have, blown up your social media pages. Have that stuff with you.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they provide locations and stuff like
Well,
that.
absolutely.
And I've seen,
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen a lot of it in just in where I live, in my area.
But
so-
print it out, and I mean, remember, a refuse hauler will sue you if you don't have a legitimate reason. and they've done it before. So if you're considering parting ways with a company, you need to have all the data and all the facts to back you up. If all your intention is to scare them, so be it.
I don't think I mean, my intention is to find out why. I mean.
Right, well,
I mean,
and
what-
again, I
What is
mean,
the main reason?
just
I
like
mean,
my correspondence with them said, is you guys are sick of the excuses, like it's time to answer. Because every week is a different excuse, and quite honestly, I'm tired of hearing it.
All right, so everybody come prepared. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairman Anders?
Wait, can I say progress? No.
Sure. Go ahead, say it. Say it.
Progress.
Okay, we did meet, on November 7th, and we have a couple items that we are to discuss this evening. The first is, regarding the, CWV, I guess you could call it playground, basketball court, and swing set that's actually there. The committee discussed, moving the basketball court from the CWV to the Furnace Dam, which is just down the street, a very short distance. It's on our own property. As you may recall, we do not own the CWV area where those items are, the basketball courts and the swing set. Speaking with John DeShella, who is our Public Works Director, he was in favor of moving that as well, thus putting the items on our own property. So the committee discussed it, and we were in favor of moving those items down to the Furnace Dam. So I'd put that in the, yes.
But not just that, though. It's
Oh.
also to abandon that park, like tell them we will no longer maintain it, it's no longer a
Correct,
park.
sorry.
We will remove any equipment that we had put in there because it's not up to code. I mean, that was part of it as well.
Thank you.
Hold on, Jeff, wait till we get to a motion.
So I would put that in the form of a motion to remove the equipment and send communication to the CWV that we will be removing that equipment and not maintaining the grounds of that park.
There's a motion by Councilman Anders, is there a second? Councilman Barrett, questions or discussion? Councilman Shipsta.
Yeah, just one question, Shane. Who owns that land then?
They own it.
Okay, so we take it out of there, they can turn it into a parking lot, right?
Well, if they meet zoning, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions?
And we would still maintain the baseball field the way I read here, yes or no? Just the part where the equipment came from, we wouldn't maintain that area?
Correct, we,
Okay.
foul line to foul line until any other changes we made in the future, which have been ongoing discussions.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
The second item that we discussed was in regards to portalets at the private fields. Shane, that was only for, correct me if I'm wrong, number 2 and at CWV.
Correct.
Okay, so the borough has placed portalets at that field, the baseball field at CWV, and at Fire Company number 2. We've recently been informed that the ones that we've been placing are a single porta potty and needs to be a ADA approved larger porta potty. The cost then therefore doubles. We've been placing them there for the use during the baseball/softball season, used by the Emmaus Youth Association. Being that the cost has since doubled, the committee discussed that we would still continue paying our same fee, and then above that fee, we would charge or it would be the Emmaus Youth Association to be addressed for paying the other portion of the porta potties, the ADA ones. So I would put that in the form of a motion that we work with the EYA to pay the above amount for what the borough has been
Well,
paying.
let's
for
say
porta
specific
potties.
amounts. It was $350, it's going to $700. They're going to pay $350, we're going to pay $350.
Well, I mentioned, I think we should look at our Public Works Director to check out the costs first and see what they are. That is from one place. I think we should get a few various costs to see, what it is.
So what is your actual motion for them to pay the difference?
Above the amount that we have been paying of $75 per month per porta potty.
Is that what it was?
Well,
No.
just 50% would be an easier number because we're assuming that it's going to be $150, but we
Correct.
want it to be 50% and not 100%,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, we would pay for 50% of the cost, they
Yeah,
would
so
pay 50%.
Right.
naming an exact number,
Right.
it isn't necessary. I think it's better to do a percentage.
Okay, so you want to rephrase your motion then?
I will rephrase it to be the 50% that Mr. Barrett has recommended.
Between the council and the EYA.
Correct.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Anders, seconded by Councilman Barrett. Questions or discussion? What is going, it's going from a single to a double, basically. It's as a porta toilet that can handle a wheelchair, so. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining,
Abstain.
fill out your reason why. I don't know where it is. You'll have to get one.
Wes, you usually keep those over
They're up
there.
there.
You can
Wes
do it
fills
after
one
the
out
meeting.
every-
Anything else from your committee?
Yes, just real quick, we did discuss the parks in which we have discussed during our budget meetings. We are looking at ways to address the parks that are going to be needing repairs and/or new equipment in the future. We're working through it through budget season and through the future. And with that, I would report progress.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Chairwoman Gilbert.
Nothing for official action this evening, other than the ordinance that we have first reading on. Next meeting is scheduled for December 6th at 3 PM. If nothing new comes in, there's a possibility I might cancel that meeting.
So you're hoping.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yay!
But I'll report progress.
Thank you. General Administration Committee, Chairman Barrett.
All right, we have two items that require official action. The first is a progressive pay policy for new hires. You can see that in your tablet. Basically, it's as new employees come in, there's a tiered rate of pay until they get to be a full-time, or until they're
Full wage.
full wage, yeah. So I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilwoman Gilbert, questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
And the next is a part-time employee holiday pay policy. And basically, this is for our part-time employees, non-union employees, adding on our holidays, the holidays that we observe: New Year's Day, Easter Sunday, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day would be at time and a half. And I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilwoman Gilbert, questions or discussion? Councilman Anders?
Does that include like lifeguards?
No, those are seasonal employees.
Those are seasonal. Okay.
This is for regular part-time employees, and really what it's to address is in the ambulance department.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where these guys work 365 days a year. And one of the problems that we have is most of them work multiple jobs, and we're the only ones that don't pay them holiday pay on a holiday. So it's impossible to schedule them, because even though we're paying them competitively or even more than what other departments are paying them, they'll go work there before they come here because they're getting time and a half there. And so we've had a real problem filling our ambulance crews during holidays.
And those holidays are the majors. I mean, those are the
Right.
ones that,
No, I don't.
Everywhere
I just
else,
wanted
yeah.
clarification that,
Yep.
thank you.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
our next meeting is December 7th at 9 a.m. Progress.
Thank you. Budget and Finance Committee, it's myself. We have Resolution 2017-32, the bill list. Would somebody like to make the motion to approve the bill list? Councilwoman Gilbert, second by Councilman Schubsta, in that order. Any questions or discussion on the bill list? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. Our next meeting is December 4th, before council meeting at 6:45. Progress, Community Relations, Planning and Development Committee Chairman Dufresne.
Nothing to report at this time. The committee meeting notes that are in there were before we met last time, and we already took care of that. So report progress. The next meeting is December 21st at 4 p.m.
Thank you. Under boards and commissions, you have 4 different meeting minutes, keeping you updated. Personal appeals part 2. Does anybody have a personal appeal? Hearing none. Borough Managers Report.
I do have something for you to vote on, and I apologize, you don't have copies of it, but I'll read it to you, or at least most of it.
We do,
So-
on the desk.
Did you give
No?
me copies? Fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
It's 2017-33. It's on your desk, guys.
So we made, it's a resolution for the 10th Street Culvert Grant, and all we're doing is, because we made some changes as to how we're distributing funds through the grant, meaning we're using our engineer money as match rather than paying some of the grant money for engineering, because it's an administrative nightmare, and because we know that we're gonna need that money for construction, it doesn't really matter. But in order to do that, we had to do 2 things. We had to send a letter to PennDOT, and then secondly, we had to pass a resolution amending that. And then the third part about, the third thing that you need to know is that because Mrs. Gilbert was the council president when we applied for this grant, PennDOT is convinced that she needs to be the signatory on everything. Unless we pass a resolution that changes that to the current council president, which again could change on
You can keep it with
January
her.
1st. So what the resolution also does is it changes the signatory that Mr. Lavenberg can sign documents. Now, if Mr. Lavenberg is not the council president on January 2nd,
Then we
we're gonna do
again.
another resolution, okay?
There's a coup.
But for now, that's the person who needs to be the signatory. So, it's Resolution 2017-33. It's a resolution amending the multimodal transportation grant agreement, number 057438A, to amend the cost distribution as well as the authorized signatories.
So is there a motion to approve Resolution 2017-33? Councilwoman Gilbert, seconded by Councilman Barrett. Questions or discussion? Is already explained. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. Thank you. Anything else under Borough Manager's Report?
Just the significant revenue and expense items for the first half of November are in your iPads. If you have any questions on that. Otherwise, you've received enough correspondence from me for a lifetime. I'll report progress.
All right, under President's Business, I would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving early, because when we come back, probably nobody will be here. So the 3 people that are out there, have a nice Thanksgiving. And at this time, I would like to recess for executive session to discuss contract negotiations at 7:35.
All right, go ahead.
All right, we're going to reconvene at 8:15 from executive session. And at this point, is there a motion to adjourn? Councilman Anders, seconded by Councilman Barrett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. Meeting adjourned at 8:16.
Mr. Brown is in Hershey.
Yeah.